Well, good morning. This is Timothy, the Pitchfork Gardener. And I actually just love gardening with the pitchfork, and I make it easy. Maybe I make it complicated in some ways, but I make it easy. So this is my little starter bed here. And you'll note that these things are made out of wood, and they're made out of pallets, like this pallet here. Now we're going to talk about pallets today. And if you'll notice that these things are made with they have a little screw here. Let's see if we can get this screw found here. And if I pull that screw off on both sides, this top part just slides off. So if you take an area that's not in the cups, like these here radishes, and you pull the screws, you can just slip this whole box and put it in the garden. And you can plant it just like that, and the roots will just go right on into the ground, and you don't disturb anything when you're transplanting. Okay? So these bottles here, I will plant the whole thing in the ground, because if you'll notice, it's just sitting on the board, and the dirt's in it, and it's planted. So those are cherry tomatoes in that one. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the pallets. And we have a couple of different types of pallets. This is this pallet here, and it's, if you'll note, let's going to put a tape measure on this. This pallet has a width of 42 inches. Okay, and the length, in this case, 48 inches. So that's the direction of that pallet. But if you look over here, I have a whole bunch of pallets. Okay? Now, this one here is a 42 by 48. Okay, the same way the other one was. I'm getting it out of the way here because I want to look at the next pallet. Okay, now here's an interesting pallet. Okay, this pallet here, let's go back a little bit here, we can see this. Okay, now this pallet here is, once again, 40 inches by 48 inches. Now, the advantage of this particular one is it's longer. The boards are longer than the boards on this other pallet because it goes the other direction. Okay, so this pallet here, you'll see the boards are 40 inches long, and on this one, the pallet 48 inches long. So you have all these different sizes of pallets. Now, I actually use the short ones from this particular pallet here. I'll take the boards from that, and I'll make the holders to start the plants in. And you'll note that if I just cut it off right about here between those two, I already have one that's ready to go. That one's broken on a little bit broken there, but I wouldn't use that one probably, but I would use this other side that's not broken. So then that particular pallet will look like these over here. So it will set down, it's already made up. See, you can see I just cut the plywood right there and right there, and just used the end of it, just like it was. So that's fine. And you'll see that I made all these different ones up here. Okay, this one's ready to transplant. Now I put these in the plants. If you'll note them, they're sitting in little jars. Well, those jars are ready to transplant. And I'll just set those in the ground at the width they are, and I'll leave the whole plastic thing in the thing, not to disturb it at all. Now this one here, these are beets, cabbage. When they get a little bigger, I'll just transplant that whole thing in the garden. I'll leave the wood and all. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. We'll walk over to my garden. Now I'm transplanting. In my garden here I have my compost pile, which is once again made of pallets. I use pallets, they're free. Okay, so you have your whole compost setup going here. And I buy these big bales of hay that are only $20 for this whole roll of hay. It's 1,000 pounds of hay for $20. That's a pretty good deal. Now, I tried several things because I want to use up this hillside that I can't use for anything else. I can't mow it, it's too steep. So I decided to terrace it and put my garden in here. So I'm doing different experiments. These are potatoes here, and you'll see that they're just starting up. Right there's a potato. Now over here, so I terrace them kind of downhill towards the bottom of the pond, and then I just start each row a little bit further down, and I just head downhill because I don't want the water to sit. I want it to drain on down. Also gives me a way to walk to the bottom by walking down that row. Now here we have, I use the pallets and I make these little boxes that go over the top of the plant. These are watermelons. That's a watermelon there. And there's a watermelon over there. So these watermelons, I probably won't have to water them too much once they get going because you'll notice I'm right next to the pond. So I built these little boxes with a screen on them. I don't know if you can see the netting on this. See if we can get a picture of the netting here. Yeah, you can probably see the netting right there. And you can see the little squares. So anyway, this netting keeps the critters out. So I heard about people that when they were real tender, they ate the watermelons. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk down this row, as you can see here, and I just walk on down. Now these are potatoes on the left here. And then here, we'll just go and look back here. These are little things that I planted in the container, and they were, I guess these look like, that looks like a tomato right there. These are peas here, but I used the netting, a different style of netting here. I took a piece of plastic that I had from another job I was doing, stuck them in the ground, laid the plastic over it in like a tent, and I put the netting over that so the critters will stay out. So now if you'll note, I use straw. I don't weed, I just cover everything with straw. And the straw mulches down, keeps the moisture, keeps the weeds out. Everything is right about straw. I can't think of anything that I'd rather do than straw. Okay, now here we have a watermelon. It's doing very well. There's some more watermelons. Okay. And I guess I started a lot of watermelons, didn't I? Got watermelons, cantaloupes, and up here I've got arugula. Oh, so here's an interesting thing. You're going to see how I do this on one of the videos. Here's where I took this device and I made a long one out of the 4-footers. The pallets that are 4 foot long, the boards. So here's a perfect example. You will see the box inside of the box. I planted the box of arugula, and then I just left it in the ground, slid the board off underneath, and just set it down, and it grows right into the ground. But the other box I built is a 48, and it's big enough to go over the top of the whole box. So I set it down, then I just set this box right over the top. So it's the conservative, it conserves the netting. Now you don't have to use an awful lot of netting to make the netting cover up the plants to protect them, because mostly it's done by the boards. And these pallets are all free, So here you'll see more of the board, the pallet, little holder inside the box, So there's several of them now. I haven't done all this over here yet, so I work my way down. Okay, and I'll show you that when we get later on as we do that. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of the pallets, this one here, and we're going to make an outside box. Okay, and we're going to use this big pallet here. It's real nice. All right, so I'll see you on the other side in a minute.